So Russell, why engineering?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I like about engineering is the challenge that's involved with it. It's never a dull moment. Just the people that are involved with it, are really a bunch of great people. Not only, out in the community, but as well as, the folks that I work with, folks that I went to college with, you name it. And it's just never boring. There's always something to do, always a challenge. I've always enjoyed, problem solving, creative thinking, things of that nature. And, getting to work for the city, I get to, have a lot of community involvement with engineering and the problems that the city faces. There's always a need, and it's just getting to be directly involved with the community.
So as the city engineer, you oversee hundreds of millions of dollars worth of infrastructure and hundreds of $1,000,000 of improvements to that infrastructure. Do you ever find that prospect daunting?
No, not really. It's, kind of goes back to what I was saying already. It's just, it's just a challenge, another challenge of the job. It's enjoyable, and, I've been on the private side or the consulting side of engineering, and the biggest difference between the private side and the consulting side is, or the private side and the government side is, there's the hunting for work versus always having work. I like the fact that, there is that backlog of work, and it'll always be there. And it's just, there's always the challenges on both sides, regardless. And, to me, it's just another part of the challenge and the job and what I signed up for.
Now, as you well know, people like to complain about the condition of city streets and maybe some of our other infrastructure. I think you would probably agree that St. Angelo streets need a lot of improvement. But do you ever take those sort of criticisms of our infrastructure personally?
I don't know. Personally, it would be, I think I would just get off track. And, I think what I like to do is to try and explain where we're at, how we're getting to where we're trying to get at, and and just communicating to the folks that I live here too. I want to be just as much as part of the solution as anyone else, and I just emphasize to them that hey, look, and what I find a lot of times is that people just don't know what it takes to make those improvements and do them correctly. Anybody could probably just, slap something together and, but then you'd still, in, 10 or 15 years have that come back to that same problem. And, my goals are to, come up with a sustainable solution, and, I don't want to have to deal with it again for the next, 50 years, I want it to be a viable solution for the city.
And of course, I don't think a lot of people understand, as the city engineer, your job is to make recommendations regarding infrastructure improvements within a budget that you don't really have a say-so as to what that budget is going to be. And then it's up to somebody else to actually make the decision about whether or not to pursue those improvements.
So yeah, having to work with city council, they definitely set our budget, and people don't always realize that as well. We have specific funds that can only be spent on specific types of improvements. We have just street dollars, we have just water and sewer infrastructure dollars, and just storm sewer. So those are all things that have to be considered, and it is hard. It is a juggling act to try and make all that work and be within budget, and to use our dollars most effectively as we can.
You and your wife, Courtney, are very involved in your church's life. What moves you about being that active and engaged in your church and in your faith experience?
Just having a servant's heart, being a servant to, our community, not only through work, but, in our faith, getting to serve and, just being active, an active role, and not just sitting idly by. Just our faith is what calls us to do what we do. As far in our work life and in our faith journey, just getting to learn more about God and what He means in our lives, and just setting Him as our example. The thing that's also cool about having our faith journey is just looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture from a standpoint, I can, easily apply it to, work and our faith community. And, I just think that's probably the coolest thing about it is that, there's a bigger plan. I'm not necessarily in control of our day-to-day activities. God has the bigger plan, and, just knowing that He's there behind me or beside me through everything is probably one of the most encouraging things that I can have in my faith.
You're also passionate about a nonprofit called Helping Hands. You serve on the board. So talk a little bit about what Helping Hands does and why that's meaningful to you.
Probably the first question that I get from everybody is, what is Helping Hands? And, I always have to say it's basically the new Christmas in April program. And what we do in that program is we help elderly folks that need help maintaining their home, that maybe don't have the monetary means or the physical capabilities of maintaining their home. So what Helping Hands does is, we have an application process where those individuals can come in, apply for that assistance, and then we go out and do assessments and figure out what needs to be done, how much it's going to cost, and then we have an annual Blitz Day where we get 30 teams together and we help 30 homes throughout the Concho Valley. Primarily, our target has been within the city limits, but we're trying to reach out to the greater Concho Valley. We've been working on homes and working with other churches, in Cristoval and Sterling City, trying to get that word out that we're here to help, we're here to serve, and I've really been passionate about that, and I first started off as a volunteer, as a team leader. And then that's just recently turned into me serving on the board and having a more active role throughout the year instead of just during that one annual Blitz Day. Our annual Blitz Day this year is going to be April 7th, the first weekend in April. And, we'll have all the team captains come in sometime in February to select the homes, and then between February and April they'll go out and figure out more detailed as to what needs to be done on each home.
What about that experience of serving Helping Hands motivates you?
Just getting that satisfaction of, talking to those family members. It's not just that individual homeowner, but their family comes out too, and they are very appreciative typically, and very complimented. Thank you so much for helping. Those types of comments, and just seeing that light in their eyes, and then too getting to hear their story, getting to hear how they got to where they are. A lot of times too, we get to hear how they used to help with, Christmas in April or Helping Hands even, and how they used to help others, and now they're getting to see that come around. And I just think that is, a pretty cool experience.
You're also involved in the engineering program with 2 universities. Talk a little bit about that.
All right, so I'm involved with Abilene Christian University and Angelo State University and their engineering programs. Basically, both of those programs are brand new engineering programs, and what they've been trying to do is to get their accreditation to be a certified engineering program, so that way, when students come in, they can, they go through the program, and then once they're done, they can later on, after their apprenticeship, they can get licensed through the state to be licensed engineers. And, part of the process of getting that accreditation is they need like what we call an industry advisory committee, and those are the roles that I've played, is on the industry advisory committees for both of those organizations. I started off in Abilene Christian University, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and they have since gotten their accreditation, and that's been very cool to see. Based on the recommendations that our committee came up with, they've implemented, as well as, now seeing ASU. They're really close to getting their accreditation or going through that process. They're probably another year or so away, and it's just getting to see that, something that started from, basically from nothing and then going all the way to something. And then two, just to be able to put back into, what I've enjoyed and loved, went to school to become what I am today, just being able to give back has been very awesome.
So how do you define leadership?
I feel, being a leader requires somebody that's a servant. Anybody can be a boss, but it takes, an individual, a servant to become a leader, to lead by example, to, walk through with those tough times through everyone or with everyone. And, I just feel that being a leader is requires servantship, and that's one thing that it's just something that I love and I gravitate towards, and I think being a leader is just part of my DNA. So
Talk about a leader who has inspired you.
it's really hard for me to pinpoint one leader because the thing that I find most interesting is just with the people that I work with, all of them have different leadership qualities, and getting to interact with those type of people has been very inspiring for me. So I kind of like to take different aspects from everybody, good or bad, even if I don't necessarily always agree with that one individual, they have their own unique qualities, and I try to take those qualities and try to apply them to myself.
You grew up in a really great place, Fredericksburg. Why St. Angelo? Why have you chosen to make your life here?
The main reason is my wife. She's from St. Angelo. She has family here, and getting to be close to them and raising our family with the greater extent family has been a very awesome experience, as well as St. Angelo's it's a great town in that it still has that small town feel like Fredericksburg, but it has some of the benefits of being in a little bit bigger community. And the people here are great. It's probably the biggest draw to St. Angelo is just the people.
Russell, congratulations. It's a big honor.
All right, thank you.
Put it there.
All right, thank you, sir.